Good afternoon, everybody. I think we'll wait for another 30 seconds before we start the afternoon. Yes, let's roll. Good afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this session of how are MarTech investments being leveraged to enhance customer experience. Well, it's a question that does not have a simple answer. It's complicated, requires people to really spend time, effort, energy trying to decipher what's happening in the customer experience space as well as the marketing technology space to understand all of this. The key takeaways from this webinar today would be the role of MarTech professionals, marketing technology, and how it is unfolding at this point of time, some sense of what's happening in the marketplace at this juncture, and then, of course, the opportunities that are there in the market, the marketing experience piece, which Hansa Cequity believes is going to be the most important thing going forward in the next couple of years, then the return on experience and how MarTech-driven initiatives can actually lead to higher EBITDA, higher sales, higher revenues for brands and organizations. I spent a lot of time during this close down with my son, and this interesting story keeps cropping up to my mind all the time. How much of the story of the Wizard of Oz is about the cyclone? Is a question which I actually posed to myself after listening to numerous people talk about marketing technology. Probably there's a seminar happening these days almost every day about customer experience and how MarTech has an important role. Now, on the one hand, the Wizard of Oz, the story, we don't have a story if Dorothy does not get carried away to Oz. And on the other hand, none of it is actually about that at all. We care more about how Dorothy makes her way through this strange new world than how she got there. It's not the story of the cyclone at all. Likewise, the need for digital transformation is you can say, technically all about technology. Companies wouldn't be faced with the needs for if they don't recognize technology's potential. But the more important issue is how companies, their leaders, and the employees make their way through the strange new world in which they find themselves. And technology, for me, is not the star of the story. Professionals and intelligence and the effort that is made behind all of this is actually the star of the story. The technology is the enabler. And once you start with this premise, I think a lot of things get sorted out in our heads pretty quickly. And another question keeps coming back to me. Is technology subsuming marketing? Everybody keeps talking about it. The other way to look at it is marketing itself has changed. Customers now spend an increasing percentage of their income on software-based services, created, priced, and distributed online, almost real-time in some cases. They also get more information about products and services from communities, bloggers, online reviews, influencers. Advertising is now placed in browsers based on customer data. So the 4 Ps require constant experimentation, and dynamic decision making is the norm. And not to mention the algorithms, the data scientists, the econometricians, and the big data experts, all of that needs to come into play. As a result, IT must play an increasingly important role in marketing. And also the importance of people, I cannot stress upon more than what I have already at this point of time. But what is at the center of this? MarTech should always start with the customer. Now, if the customer is not at the center of the business solution that you're looking for, you'll never be able to solve the problem. The other issue that you face, tempting solutions. And in my opinion, they always yield mediocre results. Tempting solutions would be very large MarTech stacks, investing in everything that is available, or investing in the new bright shiny object that is just come up in the marketplace. That 9 out of 10 times is not the solution. The solution is, what are your business needs and what will it take to meet those business needs. And if you can concentrate on that, you'll have won half the battle. The biggest issue that MarTech faces today is collaboration. Everybody sits in silos in most of the organizations. If there is no collaboration, any amount of sophisticated tools, we have typical references of why buy a Ferrari when you need a Maruti to get from point A to point B. So I think that holds good as far as MarTech and technology products are also concerned, and we need to be very clear about that. Having said that, we live in strange times. We live in difficult times. Things are not looking good from a worldwide perspective. Consumer spending has come down by 40%. 16% of retail sales dropped in the month of April, 25% over the last few months. 75% of consumers have tried new shopping behavior. They are altering the way they shop. And 60% of advertisers have reported decreasing media spends. So, all in all, these are the new realities that we are facing, the new challenges we are facing. Having said that, there is a high level of optimism in the country. Hansa Cequity, inside Indian consumers' mind, we did a research a couple of months back, and more than 66% of India thinks that we will bounce back pretty quickly. And yes, that's the optimism that Indians live with. That's the optimism that we carry, and things will be looking good very quickly. And if I have to build on this optimism, and if I have to make sense of all of this, that's the key part of it, right? Top 5 need categories which are evolving at this point of time. It's there: household appliances, fashion clothing is down, entertainment, lifestyle, communication, transportation, housing, financial investments, education, security, and health is up. The grocery and the household items are up. Education is up. Financial investments are kind of stable at this point of time, but the others have gone down dramatically. So the needs and priorities are changing, and we might think that we might go back to the original normal. Very unlikely. We are into the 6th month of the lockdown at this point of time. A lot of habits have changed and changed forever. Purchasing behavior has changed and changed forever. And marketers need to be cognizant of this and take steps to address this. Having said that, e-commerce, what took 10 years for e-commerce to grow has happened in the last 3 months. What has changed? Millions of real-time demand signals are driving hyper-local actions. There is granularity, as we call it. The customer is living millions of dots all over the place, which we need to pick up and we need to connect to ensure that we deliver a great experience. Heightened consumer attention. Yes, of course, here, all the digital channels are doing well and people are all the time facing a screen at any point of time. Efficiency is up for grabs. There's a lot of efficiency that is required to go in at this point of time in the marketing spends on the digital space. The new normal from a marketing model perspective, I think at one level there are capabilities and at the other level there are enablers. And the entire modern marketing model will have to evolve in this context. So from a marketing perspective and the capabilities perspective, you'll have a strategy, you'll have a creative and content, you'll have media and channel preferences and activations, you'll have customer experience and personalizations going on. And then of course you'll have the famous MROI, which I will touch upon later during the presentation, which is the marketing rate of returns or rate of investments that you're looking at. The product and pricing, the data and technology from the enablement part of view, talent and agency management is a big and usually neglected subject, which we should really focus on. An agile way of working, organizational design and culture. How do you put all of these together to really run a very effective marketing program in a post-COVID world? The Hansa Cequity customer lifecycle marketing journey mapping is an intrinsic part of this journey. And we always try to put the customer at the heart of it before we get into the solutioning piece. The solutioning could be any level of intelligence or any kind of marketing technology stacks. But before that, what is the journey looking like? And we try to break it into very simple four buckets, which is awareness, acquisition, the engagement piece, and the retention piece. And then within that, at each level, what is the medium that is being used to communicate your story? And if the consumer connects with you at any point of this whole journey, then how do you pick up the threads from there and ensure that it reaches a logical conclusion of acquisition? And following the acquisition, how do you do the customer lifetime value? How do you keep engaging with him? How do you retain him? How do you have a loyalty mix thrown into all of this? How do you engage with him? How do you build communities? How do you make him into an advocate? Are some of the challenges that the customer lifecycle marketing journey mapping of Hansa Cequity covers. What this basically means is, you need to move from an inward looking to an outward looking customer centric organization. Right now, this is the way most organizations are structured. You know, uh, Basically, it's an inside out view. It needs to evolve to an outside in view. What is the customer thinking? How is this journey orchestrated? And how will you really make sense of all of this? Systems today are not designed to be customer centric. They are designed to be channel specific. MarTech should start with customer centricity and not with channel specificity. Most frequent challenges that I keep hearing from all kinds of CXOs and CMOs. If I'm talking to a financial client, they'll talk about, IRD and SEBI have put a lot of restrictions on us in terms of communications, and rewarding the customers is difficult. Then there is this issue of data privacy. It is taking too much effort and too much time, and it is very difficult to get different silos, different teams to collaborate to get a good customer experience out in the marketplace. A few people from the consumer durables business say, now, our business nature is a major roadblock in collecting customer data due to dependence on, say, dealers, other channel partners, or the low value of transaction. I mean, how do I invest so much money into marketing technology when I am doing a transaction which is 3, 5, $400 or 40, 50, $60? It really doesn't make sense for me. For them, my answer is you will need to build your own databases over a period of time. Multiple large organizations have done it and have seen a lot of value in it, and then it depends on the organization as to how do you derive value out of the data that you've collected over the years. Our sales cycles are very long. Why should I nurture a customer who won't purchase any goods from me for the next 3 to 6 to 12 months? But that's the nature of the business. It's better to invest in technology right now to automate a lot of processes so that you are in constant touch with a person who's expressed his interest in your product, rather than just doing large scale IPL kind of advertising and then keep bringing in new and new and new people at a very, very exorbitant price. Some of them who not even started their journey, we've not even started to collect data. Data sitting in 20 different silos, not making sense for us at all. We do not have an IT infrastructure. I think let me just postpone. So there's a bunch of people who just keep postponing this decision. Well, if ever there was a time for transformation, it's now. It's kind of now or never. So this is the right time to do it. The MROI is no longer relevant. The return on investment, marketing investment. Market mix modeling, multi-touch attribution are really no longer good enough metrics in the CX world. And I face this day in and day out when we are having multiple conversations with different kinds of clients. And these models do not seem to be effectively delivering what they're supposed to do. And marketing heads are really struggling with their budgets and how do they actually allocate funds and make sense from the investments perspective to ensure that they deliver the returns that they are looking for. The other reasons are high dependency on historical data. Data is a good indicator, but not in a world where an event which happens once in 100 years happens. and all historical historical data makes no sense at this point of time. So how are we going to cope with that situation? How are you going to make sense of the new realities, the new behavior that is going to evolve, the new products and services that are hitting the marketplace, the options that the customer never had in the past? There is no historical data for any of that, right? So how are you going to make sense of all of that? Existing data sets, people are collecting data in India specifically, not sufficiently granular. So we can't base a lot of tough decisions on the kind of data that we collect. We need to be much more granular to collect, to make some very bold and decisive steps. Struggle to measure the impact of content. I keep talking about multi-touch attribution, and the last touch or the last connect is the attribution that a lot of customers and clients prefer. But is it the right way to arrive at attribution? I don't think so. And there are multiple things at play within the MarTech stack that needs to be factored in. We do not factor in real-time optimization. If real-time optimization is not even part of the play, then you're really not calculating MROI correctly. And if we need to do that, there are a lot of MarTech interventions that we need to make. And as I already mentioned, obsessed with the last funnel, last attribution metrics. We really need to move away from that, look at this whole picture much more holistically, and arrive at a meaningful solution from a marketing experience point of view. If I look at the world and the emerging technologies which are likely to have a large impact on any of the automation tools we're talking about, the IoT piece, connected devices, will have a huge impact. The virtual reality piece is also becoming a reality in India. Voice interfaces, of course, are already big. Artificial intelligence and bots, biometrics, fingerprint scanning. It's taken a backseat in today's environment, but again, digital signatures and all are real and are because of the circumstances already kind of become big in the country. AR, cross device identification. This is a big trend I see across the country. Everybody needs, all brands, all organizations want to know. No, Neeraj is on the touchpad. He's on the mobile phone. Uh, he's on Chrome. He's on Edge. Whatever he's doing, how do you identify him across the devices? Of course, facial recognition has got new wings at this point of time due to the pandemic, and it should take off in India too. The technologies that are likely to have a huge impact, I've already spoken about them, but what are the main barriers which really affect that? Marketing budget and the constraints, lack of understanding of technology, lack of skills and talent, company culture, support from the management, measurement, and metrics. All of these are important points which are really huge barriers, and company culture, lack of skills and talent are things which are really making a big dent and big reason for why things are not moving at this point of time in this zone. The biggest reason, of course, is the high level of investments supposedly required to become a MarTech based marketing experience or customer experience company. I personally do not agree with that thought process at all, because there are enough reasonably valued solutions available in the marketplace that can make a difference to your journey or the customer journey, and it can be done pretty effectively at a cost effective price. So, what is the new value of MarTech? And it's the business value and the efficiency that you bring in. Proximity of data to customer facing engagement, elimination of inefficiencies which depend on the decrease of time to market, then time and effort to get from insight to action. I think this is the most critical piece of all. How quickly are you able to react? All the e-commerce players today react. If even if you put something in your cart, you'll get a message in the next 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, and tell you, hey, this is in your cart. Maybe if you're not compelled enough, they'll throw an offer at you. They'll try a different feature based thing to throw at you, and just to get you to conclude that purchase or that buy for you. And of course, the most important part is increased business agility. So for that, all the channels need to be connected. If your sales, your service, and your frontline sales is not connected, there is a very little chance of business agility and ability to respond. And of course, ability to respond depends on how empowered the frontline is. How much authority do they have to take decisions which will help conclude, not only give a great customer experience, but also drive a good sale. In this context, Hansa Cequity actually has launched the marketing experience currency, and we believe that that's the new currency to measure experiences across customer journey spectrum. And the marketing experience currency consists of the advertising marketing experience, the digital assets that you own, the data and analytics that you can bring in, the personalization, and the engagement marketing experience. It's defined as an intuitive, connected, contextual, and imaginative use of data, information, AI, ML, analytics technologies across touch points to engage customers in a scalable, optimized way and a personalized manner. Amex is like a relay race where you exchange the baton pretty smoothly and uh, pretty efficiently across different customer touchpoints. It is important to convert one big idea into an ingenious and thoughtful data-driven marketing experience across all touchpoints for the customer as the firm gets to know more and more about the customer. For companies to become the best in class marketing experience companies, they will need to develop an idea programming mindset. And when I say an idea programming mindset, I mean a lot of design of experiments continuously across these 4 5 parameters which are there up on the screen, which is the advertising, the digital piece, the data analytics piece, the personalization piece, and the engagement piece. And if companies start working on that, it can really have good results. This marketing experience is not something that we just come out with. Basically, we spoke to more than 100 companies across 18 industries in India to benchmark the return on experience. So one is the customer experience, and one is which is called the CX, and the other is the return on experience, which is the ROX that we are talking about, of marketing experience driven technology investments. And this study benchmarks marketing experience through a dual lens. It is an inside out assessment of MarTech deployment, which kind of looks at the marketing experience technology penetrations, and it's an outside in assessment of customer experiences. So we kind of captured both the voices in this to make this meaningful, robust, and real experience, or real yardstick or currency to be used in the marketing space. Understanding the marketing state of marketing in the company, and when we spoke to these leaders, um, they expect an additional $700 million of revenues within 3 years of investing in. So everything has a financial value attached to it, and impact on sales, revenues, and EBITDA is important for all these marketing heads at this point of time. 1 in 3 consumers, they say, will walk away from a brand they love after just one bad experience. So COVID has proved it again and again. We did another report, which is inside the consumer's mind, and we noticed that a huge amount of people are willing to walk away from their trusted brands if they get one bad experience, and if there are other alternatives available at the click of a button. So brands need to be very, very conscious about it. By the end of 2020, customer experience, and I think this is already happening. Of course, in India, which is a very, very price sensitive market, we will always believe that price is the most important differentiator. But in a lot of categories, it's not. And it's being proven right across a lot of categories that we are watching. When we did this study, we looked at 100 plus companies and what are the most popular marketing experience stacks that they have, which industries are leaders, which are laggards in adopting marketing experience technology stacks, how efficiently are industry leaders using their marketing experience oriented technology investments. And the key parameters we used was overall user experience, personalization on digital properties. It's a huge benefit that a lot of tech stacks offer. Very, very few of them leverage them at any point of time. Insights and content contextualization are missing in majority of the cases. 1 or 2 year and there, and that's a huge long journey, for use cases to be developed month on month, week on week, day on day, to ensure that there is a connect between insights and content contextualization. The chat experience is evolving at a much faster pace, and of course integration, orchestration of the channels of engagement that I spoke about. What did we evaluate to understand the state of marketing experience? As I said, it's just the inside out piece. So if I look at the advertising piece, we kind of studied the search, display, and the programmatic video advertising and retargeting. In the context, the evaluation was contextual targeting to reach relevant audiences. The digital assets, which is the CMS systems, were evaluated. The data analytics part, what is the tag management, what is the web analytics, what is the DMPs, what are the CDPs, if any, being used at any point of time. The personalization of those web experiences on a website, on an app, indirect communication in any form, and even in the e-commerce platforms. And of course the engagement part of it, how automated is it and how seamless or how frictionless is it. So these were some of the key parameters that we really kind of closely evaluated. Of course, some of the players who came out really on top, and no surprises here: the media and entertainment business, the e-commerce marketplaces, the fashion and apparel brands. From the financial sector, the insurance players seem to be kind of up there in terms of the tech stacks and platforms that they have access to. NBFCs are also up there. The durables and the story starts kind of slowly changing as we move down the grid. And of course, the pharma piece and the auto players need to up the game in this context at this point of time. But this is how 18 of India's largest kind of businesses stack up from a MX-oriented technology penetration point of view. The orchestration scores, that was the technology penetration which is available. And this is where things get interesting. This is where things kind of the ranking changes, and ranking changes pretty dramatically, and the numbers fall pretty sharply for a lot of players. And of course, the e-commerce marketplace is way ahead as far as the orchestration. They are very good at it. Insurance and mutual funds do come out shining at this point of time, primarily because of some of the data and the analytics piece which they are getting right very quickly, and ability to forecast persistencies, ability to offer next best product offerings, and ability to give a good customer experience to their existing customers are some of the things that are propelling them and the mutual funds high up in the hierarchy of orchestration at this point of time. And when you try to put them in a box, and when you look at tech penetration work versus orchestration of the marketing experience, on the right top box, of course, are the e-commerce marketplaces, the fashion and apparel people, the insurance, the online grocery, of course, and home solution paints. Some of the top companies in India have really invested big time in digital. So it reflects two things. It reflects a mindset. It reflects the organization's commitment to do stuff. And that is a strange one, because home solutions and paints, you would think, would probably be one of the laggards in this entire space. But that is thankfully not the case. And they are actually pretty evolved in a lot of things that they do from a technology and a customer experience perspective. The low on the orchestration and the technology piece both are the airline story we now understand, and it won't change for some time to come. But the FMCG piece, the consumer durables piece, the automotive piece, the departmental store, which is primarily the retail business, and last 3 months have seen them completely leapfrog from that space into from an offline to an online model. There has been some hesitation. I still want to try to get customers into the store. The store guy's invested in it. He's got a shop. He's got inventory, stuff like that. But I think there is a hybrid way of working around it. A lot of retail players are already discovering and working on that aspect of business. I wanted to actually quickly touch upon a few of the scores, and this is how the marketing experience penetration scores for technology and orchestration look like. So you look at the web, and I won't spend too much time on this. It's quite detailed, and I can have an offline chat for specific industries for each of these, and probably walk you through what was the thought process, how it works. But basically, as I said, right from the complete digital piece, from content management to the advertising to the analytics to the optimization to the e-commerce platforms to TMPs, CDPs, the entire web has been mapped here and is kind of studied, and then we arrive at some of the scores. And as I mentioned to you, and what is up there is, yes, insurance is at the top of the list. It's number two in some of the rankings that we see. And famously right now, and there is, of course, kind of made famous because the newly designated MD of HDFC Bank touched upon this example in one of his early interviews of the Ping An example, which is basically an insurance player in China, and has done some fabulous work in the digital space, online space. And Ping An studied different sectors which are most important to their customers, and they all fell neatly in line with their insurance offerings. They began by creating different offers for various stages of the customer journey. They also focused on the automotive data, the healthcare data, and the housing data. They created a good doctor health platform, which has allowed them to add value further up the customer's journey. In an insurance journey, the doctor is the last thing that comes into you just before you get a sign off on the policy from a medical point of view. And they kind of reversed this whole trend and brought him up front from a consulting point of view. Today, as we speak, they do more than 500,000 doctor interviews online, consultations online. Platform serves more than 258 cities in China at this point of time. Has really kickstarted their insurance business and has given them a huge amount of impetus. A lot of it is not based on technology. A lot of it is based on what the customer asked for and how the brand responded to in the marketplace. And that for me is the underlying theme that carries across. NBFCs, again, look at the scores and look at the web that forms on the right hand side. A lot of them invested in technology, but the orchestration is absent at this point of time. Digital assets and engagement are two components that the NBFC seem to be lagging in. They are unable to ensure content contextualization for me, and effectiveness of the nurturing, cross-selling, upsell campaigns, next best product offer campaigns. These all kind of becomes words there. They need to orchestrate their journeys better, and that's clearly coming across in all the studies that we're doing. Way behind the marketing curve, way behind the technology curve, surprisingly, and not so surprisingly, because FMCGs always believe low ticket value, wide distribution, different customers coming in and out. Why do I even need the data? What will I do with the data? How do I have the right strategy? So this space requires a different breed of marketeers to get into FMCG companies, in my opinion. And they will really need to rethink their strategy in the current context, and the current context will not go away. So they will really have to work hard and find a work around this situation. It's not about just creating one can-winning brilliant commercial or award-winning communication, or communication that touches and nudges and tags at the heartstrings, but how do you orchestrate this entire journey is what FMCG brands will really have to work on going forward. The story is more or less similar for the consumer durables business. Very few brands have all the data in place. Very few have the data structured in place. And again, the same problem here. I mean, if the customer is going to buy one product after a couple of years, what do I do with that data? Well, increase your basket size. Ask him to buy adjacent categories in your data. How do you go about doing that? Who is swiping the card? Where is the service data? Where is the dealer data? Where is my internet advertising data, all sitting in different silos. Is there a way of putting this together? I don't know, because they are all not adding up or making sense to me. So these are questions which remain unanswered for a lot of consumer durables. I think we are on our way from Hansa Cequity's point of view to answer a few of these questions for a lot of customers who are really intent and focused on building their digital ecosystem going forward. I've spoken about fashion and apparel, and again we come back to the same set of examples globally, but Zara kind of did it pretty effectively and did it almost 2 years back before this kind of hit all of us, which is the RFID based inventory system that they set up using big data led decisioning modeling. Its expertise included stocking inventory personalized to customer sizes, weight, choices in a region, making sure inventory flies off the shelves in those regions. Customers can order online, offline, online ordering, offline collection, offline ordering, home delivery. So all those permutations and combinations, the retail business is in the throes of transformation, and they'll need to work on all of this pretty fast. Only 30% of the marketing stacks and technologies are being leveraged. Marketing technology stacks are highly under leveraged in India at this point of time. A connected marketing experience can have impact on EBITDA growth by over 25 to 30%, and I will touch upon this in the next slide. Data analytics is in marketing experience is not effectively leveraged beyond tracking investments. Only 45% of the firms studied use these insights to enhance their marketing experiences. And of course, MX orchestration is not being leveraged by brands and companies. CDPs, which is the data component of the MX stack, is least invested by many firms. I mean, there is very poor usage of CDPs in India at this point of time. Of course, knowledge about it is increasing, and hopefully in the next 6 to 12 months, a lot of it will change from a CDP perspective and its utilizations perspective. The key components of a highly successful marketing experience, I think we talk about this when we encounter it, when we meet a lot of clients. Is there executive sponsorship? Is there cross-functional KPIs embedded? So you have a program, you have a plan, you have the CEO's buy-in, but cross-functional KPIs embedded in individual goals is very important, because if only one set of people are responsible to deliver this and ensure that sales happen on the ground, it's not going to work. It will never happen. So the entire chain needs to be connected, and the entire KPIs and KRAs, as we call it, need to be connected. There needs to be a balance between a business outward looking interface and an inward looking interface, and from a customer point of view. Complete realignment of processes in a lot of cases. Robust and need based use of technology, not just investing in the new shiny object which is available in the marketplace. Leadership, the new chief marketing experience officer. Ownership by highly skilled teams and partners. So we talk about the T leadership skills, deep skills in one set of one area, and of course then the ability to understand data, technology, analytics, marketing, branding, and business. Not an easy mix to find. In fact, probably one of the most difficult mixes to find. Adoption at the ground level. Great implementation. Implementation is the key, where most brands drop the ball, not get it right, not implement the stacks right, and then they're left struggling with those systems which become legacy systems, and the problems keep multiplying because then the data is not flowing correctly, data sitting in different silos, data not talking to each other, and you're not able to solve any customer experience or marketing experience problem to end with. And then you keep on doing customized changes to tweaks to each of these pieces and don't make sense of it at all at the end of it. And continuous improvement. So marketing experience is a continuous business. Continuous learning is required. Continuous change is the order of the day in this context. We kind of had a prioritization matrix for data-driven marketing interventions. So The 360 customer single view. If you don't have a customer single view, really won't be able to make much of sense. The intent driven lead sourcing is another important piece. How do you understand the intent of the person and then communicate to him in that context? Lead scoring and lead nurturing. The 360 customer view I spoke about, the customer lifecycle management, the prospect lifecycle management, the churn management piece. How do you go about doing that? And of course, the win back strategies and the cross sell and upsell strategies. And you can really prioritize them to ensure that whatever needs to be done from your business's perspective gets done. You might not do all of them, you might do a few of them at any point of time to ensure that what the business requires is addressed. We spoke about this very quickly, but yes, we have a full methodology where it kind of the marketing experience has a role to play in ensuring higher EBITDA and higher orchestration uh, from a from a business perspective. These interventions, when tracked over 24 to 36-month windows, are predicted to have a significant impact. And I keep bringing this in. People expect results in 3-month POCs, 2-month POCs. How I wish we had a magic pill and a magic wand, and technology would be a magic wand, and we could solve problems in 3 months and 2 months. It takes longer, but it does happen. And according to some of the studies done by Forrester, experience driven business grow revenues by almost 1.4x faster and increase customer value, lifetime value by 1.6x more than other companies that do not do the customer experience piece and the marketing experience piece. So, yes, at each level of interventions, right from the 360-degree view to intent to customer life cycle management, prospect life cycle, customer churn management, customer win back, and cross sell and upsell management. Each of these interventions, you can measure the total impact of the marketing experience that you've been put in place, and hopefully and possibly it can deliver more than 25% growth over a period of 24 to 36 months. A lot of global companies have seen it. I don't see any reason why it should not happen here. A lot of Indian companies have started to look at these metrics with a fine lens and are beginning to make a lot of inroads in this context. So, how do you put together this entire jigsaw puzzle? The Hansa Cequity's MarTech evaluation framework, and we typically talk of 6 steps, and I won't dwell into each of these steps because I've kind of spoken through a lot of it over the past 35 minutes. So discover, design, determine, develop, deploy, and drive, and keep driving those initiatives continuously is what I'm saying. And that's what we need to do from a marketing experience perspective. We kind of have a framework which we work on with our clients, and I give you a top line of the framework of how it works. At the top of the pyramid or the box is, of course, what is the customer strategy? What is the MarTech of the organization looking like? Where are the dots connected? What is going to be the governance, and who's going to be driving, and who's the project owner of this? What are the processes, and what is the risk management that needs to be factored in? At the bottom of the funnel, and which is kind of foundational, is what is the enterprise view? What is the embedded technology? What are the embedded processes? What is the execution support? Where is the excellence in delivery? And where is the expert support required to enable all of that? Project change and change management, discover, design, develop, build, test, deploy, retest, operate, retest, learn, operate, retest, learn, operate. And that's an important piece. And then how do you measure success? How do you report on a weekly basis how the needle is moving at any point of time? What are the continuous improvement initiatives taken? What is the prioritization of these initiatives? Is there a steering committee, or is there a mancom which is running all of these? And then, of course, all the relevant boxes from the 6 important pillars that need to fall into place for you. What are the data operations look like? Structured, unstructured, marketing data lake, data mart, whatever you might call it from your perspective. What are the analytics, customer analytics, marketing analytics, MIS reporting, statistical modelings, effectiveness, channel efficacy, channel efficiencies, the marketing experience, which is the assets which you're using, which are the campaign operations, the executions, and the effectiveness of all of that. the infra and the technology and the implementation, the OEM management part of it, the infrastructure support, and the digital operations, the DMPs, the CDPs, the social management tools, online reputation management, creative piece. How do you put all of these together to create a meaningful MarTech framework for your brand? And if you ask me, if an organization wants to build these processes and want to be known as a marketing experience and a customer experience custodian, these are essentials to building that framework. And there is no option for organizations as we speak going forward to without not putting these spaces in play. What it also means, it requires a different skill set. I was part of a NASCOM session a couple of months back, and there was a huge discussion and this passionate discussion about the skills required to run marketing teams across organizations. And the belief and the numbers told a very scary story. The story is that most organizations do not have the skill set to run a very modern, technology driven marketing organization. And will require unlearning, relearning, and new skills to understand and then implement any of these structures that we are talking about. So there is huge potential, there is huge opportunity. We are not way off the mark. A couple of markets in Asia would be ahead of us. A lot of markets in Europe and the United States would be in the North Americas would be ahead of us from a marketing experience and a customer experience point of view. But they invest a lot more money in those kind of MarTech tools and the kind of efficiencies and then the kind of skill sets required to run those programs are already in place there. But here we are on a different growth path. The potential is huge. The market is beginning to explode. A lot of MarTech players, some of the big four in the world, are aggressively going after the Indian market. There are so many other players, technology players, a lot of homegrown hybrid technology players in the country, which can plug in a lot of these gaps for us, which are also into play at this point of time. And that's the story of Indian MarTech, so to speak. Uh, I kind of like to end my conversations with what currently MarTech in India is suffering from, and I kind of say it suffers from pathetic use of potential, huge potential. A lot of it is in place. A lot of intelligence is in place. A lot of collaboration is required. A lot of silos need to be broken, and a lot more accountability needs to come in for MarTech investments going forward. And what is actually what that MarTech needs? And just to put it very simply, it needs a champion. It needs a CEO. And what does that mean for me? It means ability to collaborate, ability to keep experimenting, and ability to own up, take ownership. Mistakes will be made, success will also happen, and people will need to own it, and people will need to drive these initiatives to ensure that they are successful. I think these are some of the key things, thoughts that I wanted to leave everybody with. Big thank you, and happy to take on questions from the people here. I'm just going to go to the questions bar and see if there are any questions or people who would like to ask me any questions. I can't hear you, but Shrikant, yeah, if you could just maybe type your question or put it on the chat. Yeah, I'm not getting the questions, Anurag. You are also in queue, but I don't see the question here. So I think no questions at this point of time. So thank you, guys. It was a pleasure connecting with you and talking to you. Uh, Please feel free to mail me the questions, and happy to answer and happy to set up time specifically on the site to have a better understanding of where your organization stands in this marketing experience and marketing orchestration piece in the world. And we'll help you navigate this journey better. And that's what Sequity does. Thank you. Thank you for joining today. Have a great evening. Be safe. Take care.